This is the Oppo X 2021, the world's first rolling display smartphone. It's a unique take on this smartphone to tablet form factor change where the initial 6.7-inch smartphone form factor turns into a 7.4-inch tablet, except that there is no folding mechanism here. Unlike the popular folding phones out there from Samsung or even the dual display phones like the Microsoft Surface, this phone basically rolls out the display, which is usually hidden underneath the camera array. Since OLED is a very flexible display and can be bent into pretty much any shape and still be functional, that has allowed manufacturers to do some crazy things, and Oppo X 2021 manages to one-up even those. LG has been doing something similar with their TVs with their rollable TV technology, but Oppo has managed to do it with a phone. Now this Oppo X 2021 remains to be a concept phone for the time, but it's still fully functional. And I think Oppo is going to be mass producing this by 2022. So if there was ever any doubt in your mind whether these display technologies would ever make it in the future, well, it's pretty much answered. Looks like these phones with complex moving parts and larger screens are going to be the norm in the future. The phone has a very striking design. It doesn't have any apparent physical buttons except this touch capacitive area on the right side, which upon swiping up reveals the full 7.4-inch display, and if you swipe down, the motors retract that phone back to its 6.7-inch form factor. And the software has been built pretty well to scale up to that same form factor, so when you roll out the display, the content isn't disrupted and it smoothly rolls off to this larger form factor, which allows you to enjoy content on a bigger screen. Now even Samsung faced some issues while mapping the content from the smaller screen on the outside to the bigger display on the inside with the original Fold 1. So the fact that Oppo managed to do it on the first shot with this concept phone is pretty amazing actually. While display leaders like Samsung and LG were struggling with issues and worrying about marketing, Oppo was quietly doing work, and now they managed to impress everyone with just a concept phone. Now despite having so many complex moving parts inside it, the phone remains relatively slim. In fact, it kind of resembles the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra in terms of the proportions, or even the iPhone 12 series. Again, we don't really know how much space do these moving components take up, so not sure how much is the battery capacity in there after all of these have been accounted for. But since OLED doesn't really take much battery, and since software and chipsets have been really efficient lately, even if there may not be much room to place a big battery inside, Oppo should still be able to squeeze out a good battery life. Now we can't really comment on anything else like the camera performance and such because official specs aren't available as of now. That's likely because by the time this phone comes out, a lot more hardware would have been in the market, so they don't want to release it with this year's hardware in 2022, obviously. So probably the motherboard and all the components will be swapped out according to the times, but the design would probably remain the same or even improve upon this. Even though it seems pretty striking and crazy on the outside, when you think about it, it's actually quite natural. I mean, there's only so much you can do with a fixed form factor of a phone. Just one display on the front and a big battery, great performance, all the phones have these checkpoints now. So in order to stand out from the competition, the company really has to invest its resources into doing stuff like this. The only thing is, with major brands like Samsung, LG or Sony, they may still be working on these. I mean, once in a while we see some crazy patents of those. They are too scared to unveil this in public because even a tiny mishap could potentially damage their image. But Oppo, despite being subjected to the same risks since it's a large brand, isn't afraid to innovate on things and show us what they're working on, and that's what I admire about them. Oppo does claim that their roll motor design is extremely durable and allows you to have the freedom that you want. But of course we'll have to test that in real world and see how it stacks up against other folding displays and normal smartphones. The thing about smartphones and moving parts is that even a tiny speck of dust which is trapped between these moving joints can cause catastrophic failure. We already saw the damage that it did with the Galaxy Fold back in the day, which ended up being recalled, and that is a mechanical device, meaning that you open and close it with your own hands. This however is entirely motorized and it's likely drawing power from the phone's battery, and if something happens to the motor, well, you're pretty much screwed. They say that their unique pulley system allows the screen to be completely free of any creases when it's fully open. That's one of the criticisms that even the modern day folding phones like the Galaxy Z Fold 2 face, that when you open the phone and hold it against the light, you can still see a crease where the phone would fold, and that crease only gets more noticeable the more you fold the phone. This thing, since it's a smooth rolling display, it's likely not to have any kind of crease even on the edges, so that's pretty great. And they say that the screen has some kind of a special laminate called warp track in order to keep the durability same even when it is folded up or rolled up. I mean, it is still a thin layer of OLED sheet, so you can still pretty much damage this with your fingernails like you could with the Galaxy Fold series. But I think it has a better durability in terms of opening and closing it over time. In that same Inno Day event, they also unveiled their new AR Glass 2021, which has some pretty great features in AR which no other product seems to offer in this space. Yeah, that's all cool, but we can discuss that in another video. But yeah, that was your look at the Oppo X 2021, the first rolling display smartphone or extending display phone. I personally think this is a lot more cooler than the normal folding screens. I mean, in comparison to this, the Galaxy Fold 2 looks like a cheap prototype. I mean, of course, it's not cheap at all, and I'm sure it's an engineering marvel on its own, but still, Oppo no doubt outmatched Samsung in every way here. So yeah, Samsung better wake up. They have all these R&D resources at their disposal, and they have been the king of display technology for a long time. But if they don't do something soon, then that won't be the case anymore. Anyway, what do you think are the potential advantages and drawbacks of the Oppo X 2021? I mean, I think it's pretty cool, but I'd like to know your thoughts. So leave them in the comments down below. And with that said, until next time, take good care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.